Sorry, say what you were saying.
You open up into the conversation without necessarily having to go, hey, it's me, welcome to the show, my name's so-and-so, this is so-and-so, he's a so-and-so, and then you get like 3 minutes of just jargon rather than being like, you're just in there, you know what I mean?
Cool.
And then you can kind of dot that stuff in as you go.
Good. Well, that was our intro. Literally, I'm like, okay, there's no better way of doing it. So, there's your bottle of water in a wine bottle.
Oh, wicked.
It is not wine in a wine bottle. It's water in a wine bottle. So, a couple of things. Try not to clap. I'm guaranteed going to clap.
Oh, you just
It'll
clap
click. Because can you see those two green lights? Okay.
Oh, yeah,
as long as they stay green. If they start going up into like there, wait, don't do that.
Right, yeah.
So we can chat. Obviously, it's all good.
Okay,
Right. So we got water in a wine bottle. You got your cup there. These are almost like cup and balls cups. I've put this beautiful thing here. Right. This is my bedspread over the top of it. I mean, this is a professional setup here.
We're looking snazzy, man.
So here is my gift, and I'm so damn glad it arrived in time. So it is a little personalised. You're talking about notebooks and making notes and shit. So I was like, the Shaman Show.
That's amazing.
Here's where the magic happens, or something like that. The magic lies within, or whatever it was. So I thought that would be good.
Mate. I was looking for a small notebook in all the Poundlands, and I couldn't find one, and I was pissed about it. I was going to use it for something specific.
Well, I've got odd notebooks, and that one is I've used for a couple of things.
Yeah.
And I was going to give that to you for today, but I ordered that the other week because it is like an engraved one, not engraved one either, a personalised one. That I was like, oh, it's going to take extra time. I was like, oh, so it's either today or tomorrow. And when I left to pick you up, it hadn't arrived yet.
I don't even want to use it.
So I know, mate. No. What you have to do? Okay, what you have to do? We can show that if the camera can focus.
That's wicked.
Not sure it can, but it says the Shaman Show. Herein lies the magic. So this is the Shaman Show.
Ta-da.
This is the Shaman.
How you doing, guys?
And he has all this magic inside of his brain, and I'm here to essentially help him get that out of his brain into the world and share it with everybody. Also, very selfishly, the magic he has inside of his brain, I believe, can really help me personally as well. So we are kind of doing like a live consultancy coaching session, as well as just having a chat and a bit of a laugh and a giggle.
Great conversation.
That sort of thing.
Take it to different places and really see where it goes. You know, we've already had some really good conversations as well. Do you know what I mean?
That was the idea of this. It's like, actually, the conversations we're having, if you can hear that glug, 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 some like ASMR people, do it closer. The conversation we were having, I think one of us said, other people really need to hear this stuff.
100%.
And people have said to me in the past, like, you need to get your story out there into the world. People need to hear your story because it's exceptional, basically. Yeah. And not like, oh, I'm exceptional, look at me. But the story I had is quite an exceptional story. Yeah, I'm quite an outlier, you know, as far as your average guys and girls go. So, we thought, well, ideally, you know, we've got your framework, as you call it.
Yeah, the framework.
Which can help every man on the planet. You're literally,
really
if you're a man and you have any kind of issue with anything at all, there's a very good chance that there's some shit inside his head that can at least shed light on it.
Yeah,
and awareness is the first thing, isn't it? And so it's that idea of, look, man, you're using me as an example. You know, my stories, my kind of. There's a very good chance I'll break down crying at any point when I'm telling a story as well.
Free hugs.
So, I forgot. Oh no, did I get my hanky? I did. I got my hanky. So yeah, the idea that I'm perfectly happy to kind of be the example, medically speaking. You know, going to hospital like every 3 to 6 months of my life, if sometimes, you know, more frequently than that. So I'm very used to talking to doctors, talking to people, and just telling it how it is. Yeah. And so a lot of people, I think, fear that, and also not that, fear how they might react as a result of someone. So like, there's been a couple of times you said a thing. Yeah. And I'm like, breaking down crying. And now no one wants to do that on camera. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I've done it so many times. I have got nothing to hide and nothing to prove. Yeah. So yeah, if it happens, it happens. But again, it's the idea that, you know, there are so many people, I think everybody can benefit from this kind of stuff. Yeah,
100%. Look, the framework of being researching and essentially living, like it's basically my Bible. There's nothing else that I go to. Well, obviously I learn other things outside of it, but this is my ground zero. This is my bedrock. Whenever I'm unsure about where to go and what to do with things, this is the place that I come back to, and it never ever fails me. It never fails me.
And so this framework comes, if I'm right, it comes from a book.
Yeah.
And so it's King, Warrior, Lover, Magician. Is that what it's called?
Yeah. Well, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. Yeah.
King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. There we go.
It's the 4 quadrants of the.
But I've never heard any of that stuff before until I spoke to you. Right. And the thing is, I've spoken to loads of psychologists, psychiatrists, I've watched loads of stuff online, you know, I watch the same kind of stuff as well. But I've never heard it put the way you put it. And so when we were talking, going backwards and forwards, I'm like, well, this is new to me, and I'm pretty well travelled, kind of well educated in some respects. I'm well versed in a lot of things to do with the mind, and from my own kind of guinea pigging myself as well, find out a lot of stuff. And yet this was brand new to me, which makes me think it's still pretty underground.
Yeah,
if you like. Is it who was the original author of the work?
So the author of the book, his name is Robert Moore. And he's a Jungian analyst.
Jung. Yeah. I was going to say I thought it was Carl Jung, but it's someone who wrote. Right.
Yes, so he's one of the many predecessors of Jungian psychology. Gotcha. So he follows his structure of thought, and a lot of different Jungian psychoanalysts who are doing that type of work, they've branched off and gotten away from the core value of what it is to be a Jungian. Right. And he is essentially, his life's work is fleshing out all of the map of the inner psyche, which is the mind, the map of the soul, essentially. Yeah. And so that's the guy that's
he basically, like Jung. Where is he from?
Sweden.
Carl Jung. He kind of grandfathered it in, if you like.
Yeah.
He wrote the original texts, and this guy then come from that. Yeah. And the idea of this sort of pyramid structure, four-sided pyramid. You've got a king on one side. Opposite the king is the warrior.
From the king is the magician.
From the king is the magician, right? Okay, on the opposite, and you've got the warrior and the lover. That's it. Yeah, king, magician, warrior, lover. Yeah. And so we're looking at life of a man, of a human, through those lenses. Yeah. And everything we do, say, think, are is we can look at it from one of those sides.
It all falls underneath that structure of the pyramid, and it's a four-sided shape, obviously. Yeah. It's a pyramid, and essentially each quarter represents one of those quadrants. So like you say, the king, if we take the king quadrant, where you are actually looking to be is at the tip of the pyramid. The tip of the pyramid is where you want to be, because that's the part of that particular side that lines up and allows you to connect with all the other sides. Right.
So essentially any side then is aiming to get to the top.
That's exactly
the pinnacle of their side to reside at the top. Yeah. Where I'm guessing then it's pretty fucking windy and hard to balance.
Yeah, 100%. and
so at any given time you can fall down one of the sides a little bit, which you found I've done a lot recently. Yeah. I fall often down the magician's side. I fall down that little rabbit hole for a bit. Okay, cool. Likewise. So, speaking of rabbit holes, I think then you had I don't think I know for sure. You had, this is why I like the sitting on the floor. I can adjust my seat. I mean, I've got like the bass amp here. We're in my studio. This studio is set up for music. But then when we discussed this, I was like, Shaman, mate, I've got the space. I'll sort it out. I'll make sure all the things. You just turn up and you be fucking brilliant, mate. Yes. So I've got nice comfy bits for me. Yeah,
I'm a fidget, so like little bit here.
You know how to move around, lean on things.
You're going to see my socks a lot.
You posed a question, because I said to you, mate, don't, again, keeping it super simple, all of these kind of philosophies that we have. We're just going to get in there, do the reps. Just start, make a start, and then I said, and you were like, I've got to come up with a couple of questions. I went, no, come up with
just go in.
One question, just one question. And he went to me the other day, okay, I've got a question. Here it is. So what's the question?
So the question was, what makes a good man?
What makes a good man?
What makes a good man?
So I forgot actually what we need to do with this, by the way. Yeah. You're going to hate this.
Oh, are you about to fuck my book up already?
I know, right? The reason being, you have to, and then you can start writing in it, and you're not encumbered.
I love that, because the perfectionist in me just died, but at the same time.
I know, it's like, someone once told me, if you're a farmer and you get a brand new, let's just say you get land, a Range Rover, whatever, you get a brand new vehicle, you got to get your key out and down the side. I know, you've just paid like, whatever, combine harvester, you just paid $500,000. Just scratch that fuck. Because it's it's a work vehicle. This is for you to jot down your brain. Yeah. So I've jotted this down in my book, and it is a nightmare. So what makes a good man? What makes a good man versus what makes a man? Yeah. And what makes a great man? Because I feel like great men are kind of, in many ways, biological. Like, it's genetic. And it's circumstantial that they can actually get to this standard of great. Okay. But I think everyone can endeavour to be a good man. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I think there's a lot of people that can be great men as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of it's based on nurture and how you develop yourself. Like for me, as soon as I thought of that question, the first thing that came to my mind, what makes a great man, is a generative man. A man who is generative wherever he goes. So if I pick this great man up and I drop him over here,
he's effective.
Yeah, he just
in a positive way,
kind of. In effect of him being great and generative, he lifts up everything around him. So you could drop him in the bowels of hell, and he's going to make that place a little bit cooler. Like, do you know what I mean? Like he's got the ability to go.
Nice. Okay. Well, do you know, funny enough, right? The very first thing I wrote down. Because I've got it written, I've got a couple of things written up on the tiles in my bathroom. So
on your tiles,
on my tiles, in my white tiles, and I write on Sharpie.
Oh,
so you can just like wipe it off. So
I love
that. But it stays on enough. But you can, it's good because I can then change the things I write down. So I've got my beehive, right? My beehive, because obviously we know the world needs bees. Bees are dying, right? So be cool, be calm, be patient, be brave, be strong, be wise, be honest, behave. So when you said about you can like literally make make hell more cool, be cool is the first thing on my list. Man. But actually, like in that way, like being cool is being able to not get hot-headed. You know, not being able, not having to straight away fly off the handle, and it's just kind of let's just take a breath. Let's just look at, what I mean? It's that kind of element of not sweating when the pressure's on, not cracking. So actually being cool, I think that does make a good man if you can have an element of cool. Yeah,
and that's a virtue of the king as well. Having the calmness, the ability to stay calm in various situations, and being able to essentially what I call keep your crown.
So you don't get too flustered, so your crown falls off your head, basically.
So if you descend into frustration, anger, and rage, you fly off the warrior end. Okay. If you get anxious, if you get fearful, if you get super doubtful and start questioning yourself, you've gone too far off into the magician. Okay. And if you kind of,
because the magician's the analyzer. This is what I learned. The magician analyzes everything. Can break it all down and figure out how all the magic behind all the magic works. But the magician's the one who's all up there, not really out in the world so much.
100%. That's the archetype of knowledge, understanding, intuition, reflection, all the things that go on in the mind. The magician is the thinker of the group. He's the thinker of the group.
And you say you're like a magician as well.
Yeah.
And I'm like quite, I think very magician-y all the time.
Both of us, a trait that we both have in common is the perfectionist. Being the perfectionist.
It's
and it's just being, it is.
But in our own way. So, for example, look at this fucker over here. He's got, I texted him earlier, wear clean socks, and he comes out of the house looking like this. He hasn't changed since the workout this morning.
Oh, mate. I was like,
I've showered, I've done my hair.
You turned up in the car, I was like, shit. I was like, nah, he's dressed to the nines.
Mate, I think this is smart casual. Actually, you know what? This is still the same vest I had on this morning.
Oh, that's very nice.
Yeah, it's all good. But no, so I'm just going to go back to the great man bit. Now, I know you said like many men can be great men, but here's my deal, and this is what we're going to come to in a bit. Let's say, right? Let's say you're a dwarf. Yeah. You're 4 foot and a half, right? Yeah. You're a dude. You're 4 foot and a half.
Yeah.
You can have all of the qualities of the other dudes, except you do not have the height. So to get into the NBA, which I would say is like the greatest basketball league. Yeah. You can have all of the attributes, like I can work hard, I can do. But biologically, genetically, you can't be one of the greats.
You've got a great jump, but you can only hit 3.5 foot.
You might be able to jump higher than all of them, but you're still, you know what I mean? So your starting position, this is what we've said about me as well, like, I'm not starting from the start line. Yeah. I'm starting from fucking way back there. Yeah. And for me to even get to the start line, I'm fucked by the time I get there, and that's where others start. So to me, and this is why I actually looked at it earlier and I've written down, so I'm not a good man, I don't think I can be a good man, or a great man. But I am an exceptional man. And that's a different thing. And this is why I've written all this stuff down.
I call you a magic man.
I call myself in some ways defective. Okay, so in terms of when your genes aren't ideal when you're born, so let's say, like I say, someone who's short or someone like myself, my lungs are knackered, my stomach's knackered, all these other issues. Certain things, it just means no matter how hard you try, you're never going to reach X level. So the idea of acceptance comes into play. Yeah. This is my mind, mate. I'm free to have my mind changed, and I'm free for anyone to say, I think you're wrong. That's cool. I'm wrong all the time. But to me, this idea of like being a great man versus a good man. So I think greatness can only be achieved if you have these certain things at a certain level to start with. Right?
Yeah.
You can come back to it, you can jot it all down.
I got it.
That's the whole point.
Yeah.
But everyone has the ability to be a good man. Does that make sense?
Yes.
To me.
100%.
Yeah.
So, for me, what makes a great man is your effect on those around you. And so if you're looking at a great man from a perspective of, hey, if I can't dunk that hoop, then I can't be great. Right. I can't do this thing, then I can't be great. If I'm not this strong, I can't be great. Then what it ends up being is centered around yourself and your own abilities, and it's not centered around what effect you have on the universe, what effect you have on those others around you. Because if that dwarf isn't necessarily good enough to hit the NBA, but he knows all the techniques and he's fantastic at them, and he can teach a young man who will be 7 foot tall to do it, he can teach 10 7-foot men to do it. Now it's not him that's in the NBA.
But he's leveraged his skills to educate others.
And he's become generative in a way that is great to others. So a person that I think is a great fighter is Uriah Faber. Now, he never got the gold. He's a fantastic...
That's right, now carry on.
He's a fantastic featherweight. And
I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, yeah, Faber.
You can't do this. But he's a fantastic featherweight. And he's the head of Team Alpha Male. Now, he didn't get the gold.
So he couldn't beat the shit out of any of the heavyweights. Because he's a featherweight.
No. As in his division, he couldn't get the belt.
Ah, right.
So he never become world champion in the UFC.
Gotcha.
He got it there. He got title contention.
Yeah.
But what he did with his team was he put all of his energy also into his team, and he created 2 world champions in TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt. Okay. So for me, that's a great man. So even though he couldn't do it, it wasn't me. He turned that into a we, and that made him generative.
Okay.
So when you're around him, you're gaining by being around him. That's my definition of great.
Okay.
Like, do you leave that person feeling and being a better person than when you arrived?
Okay.
Because if that's a consistent theme, like, okay, we had a great conversation, I leave feeling better. I leave knowing more. I leave understanding or having more drive in me. I leave a better man than when I arrived towards this man. That's what I consider a great man. Okay. That's my definition.
So what's the difference in your mind then between great and good? Because we're talking about what makes a good man. So what's the difference between great and good? Because I'll let you think on that, right?
I think the definition that you mentioned, I would consider a good man. A man who can do good things. He can do good things. He can do the dunking. He can do this. He can do that. But can you take that, what you've got, and can you give it to other people? That's a great man for me.
Okay, so one of the things I've got then is the ability to teach.
Yeah.
The ability to pass on knowledge and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like that to me, definitely. A good man, so to me, being a good man has got nothing to do with height, actually. Nothing to do with physicality. Yeah. Nothing to do with looks, none of those kind of things. To me, a good man is all about character.
Yeah.
The way I'm thinking about it is, as I say, for example, like myself, I can't have kids, right? So I could be on an island with 100 women, and let's say we're the last people on Earth, right? As a man, I can sleep with all of them, and I'd have a lot of fun with a lot of them, I'm sure. Some of them, maybe not so much. Actually, nowadays,
out to the ocean with you.
Nowadays, a lot of them, not so much, I think. So the way I look at it is like, okay, right. So I could be a great man according to you potentially.
Yes.
But if I can't have kids, for the sake of perpetuating the human race, like you kind of say, like generative.
Yeah.
I actually cannot fulfill the job of a man, which is to pass on his DNA to the next generation in that way. Now, you could argue, well, yeah, IVF, blah, blah, blah. We're just talking straight out biology here. Yeah. To me, that's why I say I'm defective in that way and cannot be a great man. Because I can't fulfill that. So there could be men who can't do as much of this, who aren't as much of that, and blah, 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 and they could be considered bad men. They could be locked up for doing evil shit. Yeah. But they're a good man if you want to keep the human race going. I'm the worst man if you want to keep the human race going. Make sense?
Yeah.
But on the flip, just because I was thinking about this, right? We're going down this rabbit hole. I may not be able to father the child. However, I would probably be a way better man at educating the child than that man would, right? This is my issue with it, because when you talk about, and I've heard, podcasts and all these things before, guys discussing what makes a good man. Yeah. And then the whole time they're like, oh, should have a job, should this, should... I'm like, oh, well, I'm a terrible man. I'm a lovely human being in many ways, but I'm a terrible man.
Yeah.
Because I can't do this, and I don't have that, and blah, blah, blah. So what do you reckon to that?
So it is a good point, like you're saying, fertility. That's part of the king's generativity. But just because you're lacking in one section of one quarter, that doesn't exclude you from the ability to be a great man. Because even great men,
No, good men. We're talking about good men. Good man, right?
Oh, good man.
So this is what I'm saying. So not being a great man, like not like historically, wow, you know, renowned and remembered through history. Just that's a good man right there. Yeah. So to me, because I could never have kids, so I learned that at 10 years old, right? Because I could never have kids.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I think kids are great. You know, I've always just like loved kids, and even now, you know, when anytime you just get that playful straight away, just like joking around, messing around, and we did the Sutton Fun run the other day, concrete, as you know, and he's like high fives, running in the dinosaur costumes around his side, and the kids are going dinosaur, and he like, you know, because he knows how much they appreciate that sort of thing, and so I'm like that. I'm like, yeah, man, kids are brilliant. There's so much life, there's so much innocence there, there's so much wonder, there's so much, and so I'm like, I would never want to deny a woman kids because I would want kids as well, right? And I wouldn't want to be with a woman who doesn't want kids because, like, you know, fucking kids get out. And I'm like, nah, because kids are brilliant. So it's like, well, then I'm not going to be a good man for any woman who wants kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but just because you can't father a child biologically, that doesn't mean you can't father them psychologically in a sacred and meaningful way. Now, I had my dad and my uncle have both passed away quite young, between 50 and 60. And at the wake of my uncle, I spoke to my cousin, my uncle's daughter, oldest daughter, and we had a conversation about like resentment essentially towards our fathers. And it was crazy how much resentment I held towards my own dad, but admiration I had for my uncle, and how much resentment she had for her dad, and how much admiration she had for my dad. So when she spoke about my dad, she spoke about him like he was 30 foot tall and made of gold.
Like he was who's this guy?
A real superhero. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my dad. We've mended things, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just weird how we think that just because you're biologically someone's father, it means that you get that connection with them. You can get a strong fatherly connection from a man that isn't your biological father.
Yeah. And well, I mean, obviously nowadays that's almost frowned upon and disgusting to some people, which I think is ridiculous. When I lived in Spain, it was, if you're the closest adult to that child and that child falls over, if you don't attend to that child, you're a monster. Over here in the UK, it's like, you best not go anywhere near that child. Touch my kid. You know what I mean? It's like, right, nowhere near. Like, So, but as I say, to me in that way, like, I could never be a good husband. You know, I could never have a family in that kind of way. So it's in that way, I'm not a good option. Yeah. So again, it's I say I'm an exceptional man. I have many, many good qualities, and I have a lot to add to the world, in many ways. But as I say, in that sense of being a good man, you have to look at the whole thing of also, if I didn't get my medication, then I'm no good to anyone, really, you know? So I'm not a good man in that I am a liability unless. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think measurement. I think you're being harsh on yourself for starters.
No, but that's the whole point of this as well, and of using me as an example. Yeah, because you've got to remember, and this is why we've said about using me. I'm one of the most extremes that there is, and so it's anyone who's not that extreme is going to feel a little bit better about themselves. You know what I mean? Like, well, at least it ain't that, so that's not too bad. So I think, in that way, it's you know. It's something that plays on my mind and has played on I'm 40 now, so 30 years. Yeah. 30 years. Wow. Every time I think good man, you know, good relationship, good woman, family, kids, can't have kids, can just about look after myself. Every time I get ill, blah, 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 blah. Yeah,
there's so many pillars that make up a man. And like you're saying, when you look online and you're seeing all these things, they're always talking about the big things that, they are somewhat important, but they miss a lot of the little things as well. So let's take the red pilling community, for example. It's all about how much money you earn, Can you? What is it? Protect and provide. That's all they talk about. Protect and provide. It's they are large things, but they miss all of the other things that make good men.
Well, and that's the issue, and this is one of the things as well that I think nuance is kind of lost when you're talking about the whole big picture thing.
Yeah,
nuance is lost. You have to really put everything into little boxes, and and it's fine if you can zoom out enough and all the boxes. Like there's this dude. It's been done so many times, but made his self-portrait out of dice. You go, well, that's close. That's a 2. That's a 3. That's a 1. Zoom out. Oh, it looks like a person. Yeah, good work. Yeah. It's that kind of thing, and so all the nuance is lost. I think, and over the internet, people do boil things down, and that's why it's very difficult having this discussion. And as I say, for me, frustratingly, there is never any mention of this kind of stuff. Whenever I listen to these kind of things, no one's ever on talking about actually being genetically defective and ill.
They're always talking about the ideal.
Basically a healthy man.
Do that.
Yeah? So, for example, I don't have a job. Yeah, so protect and provide. Now, you know as well as I do from like workouts and stuff like that. When it comes to protection side of things, there's probably not going to be many people better than me.
No, you know, man.
But at the same time, when it comes to providing. Do you know what I mean? So I'm like, I am a liability, and this is one of the things I've written down. I'm a liability, sort of NHS-wise, and to the British taxpayer, and to my brother and his wife, and and sort of that family. Yeah. Of course, I add, and I try and add all, everywhere I can, and I try and sort of do my best. At the same time, there's no denying, at least financially, I'm a liability. So when it comes to this thing of job and standing on your own 2 feet and stuff like that. Yeah. I go, well, again, I'm not a good man. I've written it down here somewhere. But yeah, I am a liability. I'm a burden, and a good man should be neither of those things.
I think it's easy to focus in on the places where we're not sufficient, as opposed to where we are, rather than giving ourselves blessings and going, you know what? I'm doing good here, I'm doing okay here, I'm doing okay here. It's very easy, especially like you're saying, when you segue that into a lot of the videos that are out there and the conversations that are being had, it's this very rigid box that doesn't seem to include the vast majority of what your day-to-day is. You know what I mean? Like, helping her out around the house. Why is that such a massive thing for men to be like, oh, I make money, I can't wash dishes. If the dishes need washing, wash the dishes. It's not that hard. What about how you interact with women and kids? You don't really hear about many when they're talking about
true, actually.
Interacting with children.
So, funnily enough, one of my things about a good man is they will always, always, always protect the innocent, right? 100%. So, historically, this was women and children, right? Less and less nowadays, I'd say. The modern woman falls under the innocent category.
I have to protect more men than women.
Oh, no, right, seriously. I know some really innocent little guys, bless them. And this is the thing. So always, always protect the innocent, 100%. Never prey on the innocent, and always protect the innocent. And you can be the guy who's in a wheelchair. You can be the dwarf. You can be the guy with zero cardio, like I have been at times. You can still stand up and protect. Sorry, you're in a wheelchair. You can still stand up. I'm sorry. I don't know. Miracles happen. But the idea. So you and I listened to Dr. Oriah Teraban. He said metaphorically, you need a spine and a set of balls. I.e., you need to be able to stand up for something and fight. Be willing to die for something. So the idea being that you can be in the wheelchair and you can stand up. I.e., you can put yourself in front of danger in some wild bear, marauding mob, whatever, and innocence behind you, whatever that innocence might be. So that to me, 100%. And so I, sort of when I see nowadays women go, well, men should do this for us and do that for us. Yeah, if this. So for example, a man should protect you if you have his children. Mm-hmm. Of course, absolutely. Like protect 100%. Your family, 100%. 100%. You know what I mean? Like if you this, then of course that. But no other way. For example, if you're standing there going, I'm never having kids. Okay, then why are you in the lifeboat over a man in the lifeboat? Because that man might go on to protect kids, have kids. If you're saying no to this, then... But yeah, when it comes to innocence, and to me, children equals innocence, full stop. Yeah. Obviously, it gets chipped away as they age, and that's what then then they become an adult.
That's the highest virtue of the warrior as well. To fight, well, one of the highest
Absolutely.
virtues of the warrior is to fight to protect. If you've got too much warrior flooding in, then your urge is going to be to fight to dominate and fight to destroy. And if you don't have that imbalance, that's how it's going to come out.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Sean Strickland as soon as I think of that. I think of Sean Strickland. I don't know if you know who he is.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
yeah, I've seen a few of his. Yeah,
He's a great example of someone with just too much warrior energy. He's not in jail.
No.
He's not murdered anybody.
But it's
hanging
because, and this is something actually that I've written down here. Well, mate, I've written too many notes. But basically,
I've got about 5 to
basically, so the thing is with that, one of the things I mentioned to you was a good man. Well, circumstantially, what are we at times of peace or are we at times of war? Because if we're at times of peace, then you might not want the sort of guy like a Strickland kind of guy who gets off on punishing other people.
When it's wartime, you need a couple of
You need some psychos, mate. You do not want the guy who says, guys,
I brought flowers.
Yeah, literally, let's talk about... Fuck off. Like, that cunt's going to die
Where's
straight
Sean?
away.
Where's Sean?
Literally, you want some psychos, yeah? So, a good man, to me, is one that is able to kill. Not indiscriminately, and not like in that kind of psychopathic just swinging a thing. But for example, if like you have a family, if you need to defend your family, and the people go, well, murder's wrong, full stop. No, I don't believe so. If someone's trying to kill your family or trying to get your family, trying to whatever, the only way to stop them, because you can see they got that glint in their eye, they got that rabid dog kind of, they're going to come and get you, and they're not going to stop until you put them down. You got to put them down.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
It's a necessity. It's really highly up there, and that's why I do understand why that protect and provide is there, because when the shit hits the fan, you need to be a man that can enter different rooms, and one of those rooms is where Sean Strickland lies and where the old Mike Tyson lies.
They're both happy there. They're both, you know what I mean? Like, it's their kind of wheelhouse.
That's
their,
they love it there.
Exactly.
And they become it, do you know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that they're necessarily the most balanced of people, but they're great examples of people who reside in that core. It's time to go. David Goggins is another great example. He's more so with competence rather than combat, but he's a Navy SEAL. Of course, he's well versed in that type of thing. One thing I would say about the good man thing, and like you said, with the certain shortcomings in your mind with regards to different sectors, the fact that you keep on going and putting forward the good parts of yourself in spite of your deficiencies, in spite of where you fall short, in spite of how out of balance you may be in different areas, if you still aim for that North Star, in spite of those bad things, I think that makes you a really good man. Good man.
Endeavouring.
Yeah, because...
But, so to me, right, that is representation of a good character. Like, male or female, doesn't matter. Man or woman, there's certain traits which are just character traits, yeah? And the ability to kind of just rise above it, let's say. Neither a male or female trait, yeah? But to produce sperm is 100% male trait.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so there's certain things, so we're like, for providing protecting, let's go back to that protecting element, right? For a second, I've written down strong for size. Right.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah. So again, like, I actually, we talked about this very briefly earlier. I wouldn't want, so say for example, you're going to war. I wouldn't want the biggest guy on my team. Yeah. Because like I said, that biggest guy is gonna, like, you've seen newest Reacher, the dude's like 7'2" or something, the Dutch giant, huge. He's not going to be able to hide anywhere. He's such a huge target. He's not going to be subtle. Do you know what I mean? He's not going to be able to crawl around. He's going to be a lumbering giant.
Stealth Reacher, stealth.
So the idea being is like, actually, no, what you want, where I can't remember where I was looking at this, strong for size, yeah? Mm-hmm. You want a well-rounded, so you want to be fit enough, you want to be strong enough, you want to be mobile enough, you want to be able to lift your own body weight and more, you want to be able to carry your own body weight, you want to be able to run and, you want to be able to sprint, you want to be... Whereas there are some people that they can lift a really heavy thing from there to like there.
But then can't tie their shoelaces.
And it can't wipe their own arse. Like they can't do the basic functions,
Babe,
right?
we got this.
So to me, I wouldn't want some of the biggest guys on my team. I wouldn't want, like, for example, if you go, okay, he's the fastest. Okay, great.
Yeah.
The fastest.
Yeah.
If that's all he can do,
He's got about
I don't want that guy.
meters
Do you
in
know
him.
what I mean? Like he can just run.
Yeah.
Well, he's just going to run. That's what, So I want a well balanced. That's the thing. So strong for your size, I think, is important. Physically formidable for who you are.
Yes, and
I think it's very important.
That goes back to doing the best you can with what you've got.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think some people get caught up on the fact of like, oh, maybe I'm a smaller guy or I'm a slimmer guy.
Yeah.
But what are you doing with it?
Yeah. How tall are you, for example?
6'2".
6'2". Obviously, you can't tell it like we're sitting there. He's 6'2", right? He's quite a big, burly, handsome motherfucker, right? You look tiny compared to Shelby this morning. That's hilarious. No, you know, I feel I'm 5'8", right? And so, if it comes to a lot of physical stuff, I think, like, in terms of overall strength, you would probably have it. However, if it's bodyweight strength, I'd kick your ass all day long. Yeah. And I'd be very, very close to your actual top strength, but I wouldn't be as strong as someone like you. So for my size, I'm like, wow, this guy,
Relatively speaking, you got me there.
I'm in that top 1% of my size. For your size, you might be more top 10, top 15 or something, you know. Yeah. So it is about that, relatively speaking.
100%, and I think that... I just had a brain fart.
It's all right, no worries.
What was we saying about relatively speaking? Yeah, that's where the main focus needs to be. You need to focus on like what you're capable and what you're capable of doing. If all of your desires and wants lie outside of what you're physically capable of, then all it causes is heartache.
Like the dwarf who wants to be in the NBA kind of a deal. It
causes heartache and like the feeling that you're not good enough, and then you may grow bitter and resentful to the people who have got it. Do you know what I mean?
That's interesting. Like not tearing other people down, not sort of doing that, not displaying jealousy. That's actually not something I've written in that.
Yeah, I think that becomes a big part of people. Haters, trolls, things like that. Usually, it's because the person that they're hating on or trolling,
want what they've got.
They want what they've got.
So actually, the thing I did put down there. So I didn't put down like, not jealous, not blah, 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 but I did put able to cooperate able to cooperate / coordinate. That was hard to say. So. Again, if we're talking like we're going to war, if you can't cooperate and coordinate, you're useless to us as a man, you know? 100%. If you can't go 1, 2, 3, 4 in time, you can fuck off because you're going to get us killed. Right? You're going to get us killed. If you can't coordinate basic functions of up and down and in and out, fuck off. You're not a good man for that sort of setting, you might be a lovely man, you might have all of these kind of, but if you cannot cooperate and coordinate with the group, then you're not a good man. But that's, I would say, more so in times of war and that sort of stuff.
Working as part of a team is so important because you never ever do anything in life alone. You're doing it with your partner, you're doing it with your mates, you're doing it with your family, you're doing it with the cashier at the checkout.
Not only that. And there'll be people who go, no, I never go anywhere with anyone, I never do anything with it. Like, there'll always be those people who are steadfast in, no, I am the loneliest wolf of the lone wolves. But you're still standing on the shoulders of all of those who came before you. Like, you're watching this, for example, from the iPhone that was being built by people. Like, someone had to have made this table, these cups, this pencil, like, all these clothes. Everything you are standing on, interacting with, that's been made by humans.
It's all connected.
It's all, you know, so no one has done it all on their own. The very fact that banks exist and you're able to trade money for food and all these things. Like, don't tell me you've done it by yourself and you're always, no, you're always connected.
I had steak and eggs this morning. I'm working on it. I'm working on my sugar addiction. I had steak and eggs this morning. That someone raised that cattle.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You didn't do any of that for yourself.
Someone got them eggs and raised it.
You didn't have to start the fire. You didn't have to collect the fire.
So how arrogant would I be to act like I'm?
Aren't I amazing? I've done all this.
And that's the thing that the two like building blocks is number one, being able to build a level of competency and understanding, so you can go back and forth. Because like you say, if we're doing stuff in cadence, if you can't physically do that thing, then it might not be of your own will, your lack of mentality. It might be that you just don't have the skill set and you haven't put in the reps to do the damn thing with the crew. Then the other side of it is the grandiosity, the arrogance, the feeling that what you know is way better than what everyone else in the team knows, and that is very, very destructive. I used to play computer games a lot. I used to play World of Warcraft, and I used to be an RPG leader, which is like rated battlegrounds. So it'd be 10v10 on a battle. This is as close to a battlefield I've ever been in my life. So it's 10v10. And we got this guy, and he was a shadow priest. He was this high rating. He was higher rating than everybody else. And he was, you know, apparently he was the shit. So what happened is we went down. I made the call. We all go onto the field, and this dude bolts off over here doing this thing because he thought that he knew better than the rest of the team. Wow, what happened is we had a back and forth. I'm trying to tell him to come and back to the team because we're a man down for the thing that we need to do. And what ended up happening is we got our butts kicked. Not because of any lack of anyone else's.
Yeah,
It was that we was
his
missing
arrogance,
a link
really.
in the chain.
Yeah.
The link in the chain was missing. It didn't matter how good that little link in the chain is. If you're not connected to everybody else, you can fuck the whole thing up. And I think that's very important in how you act towards others when you're going out into the world, no matter what it is.
Well, that's the thing. So the ability to cooperate and coordinate. So you, at times, just have to have agency and just be your own man and do the thing. Absolutely. But to be a good man, you need to be able to be good to the group, and that is the community at large. And so, to me as well, a good man, like you said, he's generative. To me, a good man considers his actions as a larger part of, well, if I do this, the knock-on effects of this to these people, to those, and obviously you can't know all of the stuff. I mean, this is what they're trying to train AI to do. Is if this butterfly flaps it, then what's going to
happen over there?
But experience tells us X equals Y, X equals Y. Experience tells us this, experience tells us that. Go. So to me, a good man does think about his actions and how they will affect. So, for example, right now, I'm being a good man. Right, I am not sleeping with anyone I shouldn't sleep with, right? So it'd be quite easy for me to go out, use the skills that I've picked up over the years, and some of them are just natural to me, and then other things that I've learned, and I could go out and just pick up women and go, yeah, you can come home with me, you can come home with me. But doing that, while it might give me a bit of an ego here, and obviously, sex is great sometimes, not all the time. Sometimes. It depends because it really does. And so the idea that, I could do that. And like some guys will go, oh, yeah, man, super cool, like smashing it, I don't think that's going to help the world at large. I don't think it's going to help those girls that I pick up. Like I say, a lot of them I meet a uni girl, so I very, very rarely meet people my own age. If I do, they're mums, they're wives, so I don't meet any single people really other than these ones that, like, say, between 19 and 25. And so I know that I could, and I could, like, convince them and do this, and this, and I could play the game and, like, push and pull, and A, it's exhausting, fuck that shit. But B, as I say, like, it just makes me another one of those guys who's just abusing because they... abusing in a way. I'm not going to abuse, but abusing the position of power. I'm doing it because I know that I can. I go, you could argue, but you're not going to do this to them, you're not going to do that to them, and they're going to have a good time. Yeah, but at the same time, if I'm leading them on to think that I'm, this guy and that guy, and I'm not, that's not good.
Really fucking painful,
do you know what I mean? And exactly. And so to me, I wouldn't want that done to me. I don't want that kind of negativity out in the world. And while I go, I'd love to get laid, wouldn't that be great? Fucking but you've done it enough to know that in the right way, fucking it works. But otherwise, no, it's only going to give you more hassle, more bullshit to deal with. And not only you, those girls. And those girls are going to go out into the world and they're going to pass it on, and they're going to be like, well, I met this guy and he said this and this and this and this, and then he said he didn't want to be with me, and he just said he was being honest, but and so I could do all of that kind of stuff. And I told you up front, I made you sign a contract, but it's a different thing of, but I thought this. The way you were acting made me feel this. No, but I did say that, but that doesn't matter. And so the fact that I'm out there doing it and playing the game, that's really the only thing that matters. It's like, well, don't do that. So I'm being a good man in that way, thinking about
you definitely are.
The bigger picture, and I'm taking the hit on that one.
So the ability to think ahead and think of others outside of yourself is definitely magician qualities. And prudence, the ability to look forward in time over what's over the hill. Like everyone's down here having a party and they're over there on the battlefield. Well, the place of the magician is up in the tower. And the more in your magician you are, the higher up you can get. And when you get higher in the tower, you can see further. So you can see good stuff that's coming, you can see bad stuff that's coming.
Yeah, because years ago I wasn't as high up in the tower, and
go.
So I'd be like, "Hey, fit bum, nice legs," you know what I mean? She's cute. She's literally, it would just be like a smorgasbord, as they call it. Whenever I'd leave the house, I would I've got the choice, and I'm like, I've just got the ability to talk to anyone, and the ability to open conversation wherever I am. So the club was never my place because I'm not the big tall guy, the big handsome guy. You know what I mean? I'm not dominating the space like that. And I want to have a chat, and you're like, hey!
It's terrible. What? The club is terrible.
Not my place. Anywhere else other than the club, I'm like, cool, this is my domain.
That's one of the things that I put under a good man.
Okay.
The ability to connect, love and connect.
Okay.
So you're talking on two things there.
Yeah.
Because what you were talking about with the ladies, it wasn't love, it was lust. That's for that's selfish love. That's for your own personal.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want that good
Exactly
stuff.
that.
Like, I want that good stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. You know how players are. Like, I don't worry about her feelings. Don't worry about what's going to go on with her life. I just want to get what's for me.
Exactly.
When the more balanced and mature version of love is.
You still want the good stuff,
Yeah.
but you also want it to be perpetuating.
It needs to be reciprocal. It has to be back and forth. And in with that is self-love also. Because if you don't have enough self-love, then the other things that you think you're going to work in a selfish ways. Me. I need this, I need that.
So by that then, by the fact that if you don't have self-love, you will go out and sleep with these people because you're trying to get it from the outside.
Yeah.
Does that mean then you think I do have self-love because I don't do that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think you do have self-love. I think the magician creeps in a perfectionist, and you begin to dissect and dismantle different parts of where you're not perfect.
Yeah.
And you lean into that with your head. This is my opinion. You lean into that with your head, and so you focus on the 15-20% that may not be so great. But the fact of the matter is that 15-20%, you can't help it, mate.
Well, yeah,
Good.
but I know that's but then that's where it comes to the acceptance thing. But I still think that 15-20% that I can't be helped. I think that potentially is that sort of the difference between a good person and a good man.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, but anyway, so I've got a couple of other things.
Okay.
So we just said that has foresight, can kind of see things coming down the line.
Yeah.
So with that, like I did today, again, this is what I'm saying. I believe I'm an exceptional man. I believe because of defectiveness, whatever, being defective in some way, having defective genes. Like you said, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
It's not my fault. It's no one else's fault. Nothing's come from the outside world in that way. I think a lot of people's issues that they struggle with come from the outside world. And it's always like my boss, my wife, my this, my that. For me, it's sort of my body. My body is not doing like it's supposed to, and it just, it's unreliable in so many ways.
It has on your mind
And
as well.
exactly that. So my body rots, my mind rots, my mind rots, my body rots. It's that kind of deal. So as I say, there's certain things. Yes, you can't help whatsoever. But to me, then that's the difference between man and human, like person. Yeah, character.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah,
So
being
when
prepared.
you talk about man, you're talking about the physical body, and then when the person, you're talking about the inner universe. How are you differentiating man and person?
There's the character of the man, the soul of the man, like the who he is, like you say, like can light up a room kind
So
of
you
thing.
put that as person.
So that's who you are as a person, as a character, but as a man, there's got to be an element of biology in it.
Oh,
So, for example, we're talking about what makes a good man. The other thing I was going to bring it back to, I have no idea what the time is, but we can also differentiate between a man and a boy.
Yes.
Yeah. So there are good boys, but what makes a good boy doesn't make a good man.
No.
Yeah. And so it's these kind of things. To me, as I say, the hard line of, no pun intended, the hard line of not being able to have kids. It's a bit of a thing that one. The hard line.
Good thing you didn't
Talking
drop
about
that
getting it
couple
out,
of seconds earlier.
but the idea of for example, like going to war. Yeah. Let's just say. All the men under the age of 50, 18 to 50 in the UK, tomorrow got drafted. Would I get drafted? No, because I'm on the vulnerable list. I'm on the, actually, if he doesn't get his medication for a few days, you're going to have to carry him.
It's actually fucking crazy to see what you do and how you are as a human, knowing what your condition is, man.
But it still doesn't make a difference of that when push comes to shove. If I can't get X, Y, and Z to keep me alive, because I'm only alive as a result of modern science. I'm like a pioneering guinea pig in that sense, right? The pioneering. But the idea that I am not a good man in the sense of I'm not a healthy man. I've never been a healthy man, and so take away the things I absolutely 100% need, i.e., my medications. I'm done, and I'm useless to everyone very quickly.
I think you're construing the physical body with your ability to be great.
But the physical body is also part of being a man versus a woman versus a child.
Well, Stephen Hawking's a great man.
He is. But as I say,
or is he only a good man?
No, I think he's a great man and probably a good man in some respects. But this is what I'm saying. But he still sired children. He provided as well.
I've got one. Yeah, but there's so many in that wheelhouse, that particular wheelhouse with reproduction and stuff. That's where your defect, as it were, is. He's got a defect in so many other ways. He can't do a press up. he can't speak. So like,
Can't do fuck all now. We're walking.
Oh, Stephen. Sorry, mate. But like,
yeah, go on.
The amount of shortcomings that you see in your eyes on this side, he has the same over here. But that doesn't stop him from being a great man in your eyes. Is greatness in the eye of the beholder just like beauty is?
Maybe, but I also think there is objective greatness and objective beauty. And there's...
That lies in the physical realm.
Yeah, for sure. And you cannot deny that we are in the physical realm. And the male that becomes a man is physically has to be... So, for example, again, it's like, well, if you lop your bollocks off when you're growing up, they were called... whatever they were called, you know the word. Eunuchs, that was it. Yeah. I was thinking of the word, I was like, castrated. No, they weren't called castrated. They were castrated, they were called eunuchs. They weren't considered men. They weren't considered men. They were a special type of human that wasn't a man because he had his testosterone taken away from him, had his bollocks lopped off, so he could be put in with the women and isn't going to fuck any of them, right? Yeah. So a good man will fuck. A good man should be able to fuck. A good man is one that can do that, right? So I can do that. Yeah. I can connect with ladies. I can talk to ladies. I can do these kind of things. I know how to behave around them and such that they are attracted to me. So I do believe a good man should be attractive. Yeah. It's just, as I'm saying, for me, I can do all of the... Nice. I can do all of the bits, but the actual having of the kids, which is not a decision. I can do all the bits that I'm supposed to do, but my sperm just don't swim. Now, there's no consciousness that can make them swim. But what is, as I say, it's the difference. If you had only women left on Earth, right, you're going to have no human race. Yeah. But if you had only women left on Earth and one dude, you can have the human race, as long as that dude can have kids. So that's the... Right there, that's a good man for the job. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, for the job. Yeah. But the thing for humans is to perpetuate the human species. So in that way, if a human's job is to perpetuate the species, I'm not good for that. I.e., I can never be a good man, even though I can be all of these other things.
I think a great man is based in generativity, and is that truly a person worth following? And I don't mean, I'm going to follow into the shops and, I'm going to follow. Like, would you follow that guy into battle to the fucking death?
Yeah, see that, I'd say people would do that with me.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And some of that's based in, is relative to the person doing the following. Because some people will follow anyone.
That is true.
But based on their awareness and their understanding and their knowledge. But in that person who doesn't know anything better, in their eyes, the person they're following is a great man.
Yeah, but we're talking about good man.
Oh shit!
So anyway, right. So we've got so one of the things like prepared. Yeah. So when we talk about, one of the things that Shaman and I do is called F3, which stands for Fitness, Fellowship, Faith. And it's essentially a workout group, isn't it? People come along for the fitness and they stay for the fellowship, and the faith is simply faith in something bigger than yourself, outside of yourself, the universe, fate, karma, whatever you want. It doesn't, the man, exactly that. For example, if I drop this, do I have faith they're going to be able to pick it up? Yeah. That kind of a deal, so one of the things that they say, the high impact man, or the him, is being prepared. Yeah. So today you were totally unprepared, but I was very prepared. So in that way, I'm a good man, you know what I mean? So there's certain things which preparation, it does so much for any human being.
Massively.
But where I believe men lead, or should lead, not all good men can lead, but all leaders are good men. Should be good men. Yeah. It's not the case, but we can delve into that another day.
Can't lead you a good man.
But anyway, the preparedness of a leader is basically, like we've said, foresight. You can see the bigger picture. 100%. You've been there and back. So I've done certain things and I've come back. I've done this, and so I go, well, from experience, this, and this. So I know that I need to make sure this, and this. Otherwise, I'm going in blind. And I know from experience going in blind means I'm going to get my ass kicked, and it's going to be painful.
I bet he's went in blind a few times.
Don't put me there again. So yeah, the idea that then being prepared,
Yeah.
and putting in that diligence to, it's like, okay, look, I'm gonna, for example, I'm gonna do a workout in the morning. Great, prepare the night before.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna do X. Right, great. You need to prepare Y and Z before you can do that. And I know that is the wrong way around, but it doesn't matter. So yeah, preparing this, I do think, makes a good man.
I think it's a massive thing. I heard, well, it wasn't a quote. It was just in an interview with McGregor. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
And that speaks to the preparedness, and that was a quote that stuck with me a few years back. And I was like, yeah, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's all about preparedness, as well as the, like you're saying, the physical preparedness. Hey, I've got to make sure my shirt's pressed and this is done, and my trainers are ready to do the thing tomorrow. That could also go for like being the man you need to be when life comes and punches you in the throat.
So I would say what you said there, you said physical, I call it logistical preparedness.
Logistical.
Physical is the actual physical human body.
Yeah.
And mental preparedness. Yeah. So this is, funnily enough, the mental preparedness is, I've put down willing/able, and I've crossed it out. Because no one wants someone who's willing and able, but who's a little bitch when it comes down to it. Yeah? I don't want someone who's willing and able. Like, oh, are you willing to help passengers off the plane if you sit in this row? Sure, I'm willing. Yeah? I like to think I'm a decent guy. I'm willing to help those. Cool. Are you able? Well, I'm physically fit enough, and physically this and physically that. Sure. And then shit goes down, and that guy just freezes. It's like, no, I don't want someone who's willing and able. I want someone who does. Yeah. Do you does? Because if you doesn't does, then I don't want you around. Like, have you got a track record of doing?
Do you do the thing?
Do you do the thing?
Can you do the thing?
Do you talk about the thing? Do you analyse the thing? Do you say how others do the thing? Do you do the fucking thing? That's who I want on my team. Yeah, I want the man who does. And so the man who does is prepared. And this is the difference. And again, man versus woman. If the man's leading, the man needs to be prepared. The woman doesn't. She can just blindly follow because it's on the man to take her hand and to guide her in a loving way. Obviously, not guide her off a fucking cliff, girls. This is like, for example, I would take care of my woman like I take care of my house, like I take care of my dog, like I take care of my car. Yeah, you know how my shit's kept. It's fucking tight, isn't it? Yeah. Like, nice stuff. I know you.
I've just got a mental image of a caveman dragging an unconscious woman to the cave. Oh, I'm leading my woman to the cave. Sorry.
Yeah, but you see, a good man would lay her on a blanket first, so she wouldn't get scrapes down the leg. That's the difference. It's all about comparison, isn't it?
What a gentleman.
But no, what I'm saying is this: it's like, look, you're not gonna want if you like this woman, if you love this woman, you care and respect for this woman. Yeah. You're going to want to lead her somewhere beneficial to you both, somewhere healthy, and you're going to want to lead her somewhere she's going to fucking like it, right? Yeah. So you get what you call blessings. Yeah. Like basically, I'll go, right, if she doesn't like it, you ain't going to get laid, right? So you want to take her somewhere that she's going to like. So in the way you're going to do that, they're setting up for a date. Prepare that shit. Yeah. Prepare thyself. Yeah. Like for example, you might go, oh, my hair looks shit on the day that I cut it. All right, get your fucking hair cut 3 days beforehand. Like trim your beard whenever it. Be prepared for the thing, and that is mentally and physically prepared. So again, like Conor McGregor says, keep yourself ready so you don't have to get ready. You just ready. Yeah. So shit goes down, bang, you can respond. You know, not react. React is without actually engaging the brain, which children do. Yeah. But as a man, as an adult, you respond. And you might respond almost instantly, but it's gone through that checklist in your brain, which happens or can happen like that.
There's a term. Oh, sorry.
Go on.
Good. There's a term. I was listening to a podcast. It's called the Mating Grounds podcast, and it's absolutely fantastic. I don't know. I had to watch it on a different site as opposed to like Spotify, so I don't know if it got dropped from Spotify, but it's called the Mating Grounds podcast. And one of the episodes they spoke about was driving. And it's the ability
driving?
No.
Oh, okay, the ability to drive forward.
In a relationship.
In a metaphorical sense.
Yeah. And the term driving.
But also driving.
Yeah, driving is...
Oh, no clapping, shit!
Driving is a form of driving. So it's the ability to be prepared and to plan ahead. Yeah. So you know the path forward.
Yeah.
And that in itself, the preparedness, the planning forward, allows you to then lead.
Yeah, that's how then when you know you're prepared. So say for example, like you know you've done the journey a good few times. Yeah. You know what you're likely to encounter. You know even on a harsher day what you're likely to encounter. You know, for example, you're a ship's captain on the seas. You've handled your fair share of storms, right? So then when you're on that journey and someone's never been, male or female, doesn't matter. The follower or followers, whoever has never been with you before. Yeah. You can also have elements of humour and relaxation, and you know, it's like, wow, man, this whole thing's going side to side, and that dude's laughing and telling jokes. He's so calm.
I think of you during the beatdowns.
Yeah.
That's who I think of when I think of someone who kind of does it really effortlessly. Guardian's a great example as well. It's almost like he does, oh, there's a blip, and you just sidestep that, and we keep it moving. It's flowing, and that gives you the faith to follow a person. Oh, I don't know what I would have done there. And it's oh, this guy's been here before. He's been here before. He's got confidence in what he's doing. You can't really lead somebody else while you're doing something for the first time. So you do need that sense of experience.
Do you know what? You just said a word, and I haven't even got it written down here. It's the C word.
Cunt. No, I'm joking.
Yes, a good man must be a cunt. I'm definitely a bit of a cunt. The C word.